I'm Davey Saunders.
I'm Tammy Saunders.
And we live in Williamsburg, Virginia, the colonial capital of the country.
Sandwiched in between the mountains and the beach.
We love it. God taught me to be a pastor really in the shipyard. I was in the shipyard building nuclear-powered aircraft carriers and submarines. The way I learned ministry was from the deep end of the pool. One of the guys I was working with, his name was Wallace. Wallace's son has a problem seeing, then he has a problem speaking and keeping his balance. Come find out, his 6-year-old son had a brain tumor, and he and I would meet in the morning and pray, and we walked through the process of his son dying. Fast forward about 10 years in my career there, the same guy, Wallace, walks into my office one morning, has a widowmaker heart attack, and dies in my arms.
I took a position as a nurse in a hospital. There was a scream down the hallway. A fairly young man had hung himself, and his nurse walked in and found him in the hospital, surrounded with people who were there to help him. The next day, in the very same room, another tragic story, and I went to that room, and lo and behold, there was another patient in there. A nurse had been addicted to drugs and alcohol, and she was going through withdrawal safely in the hospital. You wonder, God, why 2 days in a row this heaviness, this serious desperation?
But there was a choice. There was a time that God said, you've got to choose one of two things. You've got to either choose being in my work 24/7, or you can stay at the shipyard. I will bless you at the shipyard, but I'm giving you an opportunity to come work for me. When God pulled me out of the shipyard, it wasn't just me leaving the shipyard, it was us leaving the shipyard.
That was not part of my plan. We knew we wanted to work and do some type of ministry, but we also wanted both of us to keep our lucrative jobs, and I planned to become a nurse. I'll work as a nurse, and then you can take time to minister in different areas, but that's not how God saw our future. And isn't God's plans always better than our own? Doesn't He say that we might make our plans, but He orders our steps? And that's exactly what happened with us.
So when we left the shipyard, we had been called by a megachurch here in our area to be a campus pastor. I actually went in to have a conversation with the pastor to lead a mission team, and he said, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about you being a campus pastor, to a new campus that we're building, which is something that I knew that God was calling me to do. We said yes to what God was asking us to do. And the day that I walked out, people say that it wasn't hard for you to walk away from all that money, with that power, the influence. It was the easiest thing we've ever done, because we were walking directly to what God was calling us to do. We were doing church out of a movie theater, so we were set up and tear down. We've been set up and tear down for 13 years. This Sunday was a little bit different because our people are setting up, and out in the parking lot we hear a boom. And a guy that worked at B-Dubs across the street had chosen to end his life 100 feet from our door. A lot of the stuff we talk about is death because it's that important. The lost people, you gotta go look for them. They're looking for something to satisfy them, and we know it's God. God's searching for them, and He's going to use us to do that.
He's developed in me and us a sense of urgency. We can't wait.
We can't reach people that we don't come in contact with. Time is not a luxury that we have.
So there was a definite tension of we needed to do more.
And so that was kind of the point that we finally said yes. So COVID happened to us just like it did to everyone else, and we were in the process of getting back together as a church to try to open our campuses back up. When God told us to do an absolute crazy thing, and God's just like, you got to tell him you're leaving. You can't do the same thing the same way that you have been doing it, because I'm calling you to do something totally different.
Leave our comfort leave the clean, tidy ministry type things we were doing and do something different.
It didn't make sense to everybody that we told that we were leaving, but it made perfect sense to what God was doing in our lives, because that's when the next chapter of our lives had started.
So here we are at another move of God. Davey's been called out of another job and he's let them know he's not coming back. But I knew it was the right thing. And we have a new decision to make, a new uncomfortable. He was directing us
To start Greenbranch Church. We're not talking about just starting another church. When we ask God what it looks like, we see a church that's known for its sending capacity rather than its seating capacity. We're talking about going out into our communities and finding those people that are in the margins, those people that are not necessarily comfortable with being in the current church culture, where people believe in Jesus Christ, and then discipling them. So that means that we have to be in close proximity to the people that we're trying to reach. The 528 square miles of our region with 452,000 people. And so that's what God's calling us to do. Part of the vision for Greenbranch Church is to plant small micro churches in different communities throughout our region. It's kind of like doing it backwards. Instead of starting with the mega, we're starting with the micro. We had to do something else. That's what Greenbranch Church is going to do. The heart of our church is to take the everyday gospel into everyday places, to make everyday disciples that create everyday churches. The stakes are high. That's why we're going.